Hi everybody, Dave Johnson here in my little, what I call my stained glass lair. I've had several requests from people as to how I do my kind of patina on the lamps that I do. And just to give you some background information, I've been doing lamps for a while, but I began the patina I used for many years was just the good old black patina, which it works wonderfully. It's easy. You get the shade nice and clean. You put the patina and it's black. You polish it up and it's beautiful. And it's oftentimes in an hour from start to finish, you're done. But as I got more involved in the lamps and I tried to get a more authentic look for my lamps and the finish, I've been trying to perfect what's called the Verdi Gris patina, which is kind of the blue-green patina that you see incorporated into this the final finish of Tiffany shades. And there's not a lot of information out there, so I've kind of researched where I could. I've done some experimentation on my own, and in fact, on this shade, I will be doing a little bit of experimenting. So here we go. To begin with, I use the JAX products, and on this shade, I'll be starting with the copper plating solution, which is what I'm going to be doing here first. I will follow that up with a light coat of the JAX brown darkener, and then finish with the JAX green patina. And after that's all done, then we're going to wax this thing out, which is where the real magic happens, and we'll create the finished product. And like I say, I'm going to start by copper plating this. I've already done some of it. You can see the inside of the shade. I have already kind of put the copper finish on. From beginning to end to do the copper plating on the shade, it's probably about a 1 hour process. So you don't want to sit here for an hour and watch me do this. So I already did the inside, and now we're going to do the outside. So here we go. These chemicals kind of are rough on the hands. So I'm a dentist. I always have dental gloves on hand. They really save the skin. In the past, I've always used this brush to apply the copper plating solution. One thing I'm going to add today, which is new, I'm trying this. It's actually a denture brush, available at any old pharmacy. But since I have them in my office, I brought one home. But this is the JAX copper plating solution, and I'm just going to start working on an area here, and I'm going to kind of scrub this in. One thing I always keep handy is a damp cloth. It seems as though the plating solution works the best if I periodically wipe it off. I don't know, I think the chemical reaction, once you start to rub it in, whatever's in the solution there that causes the copper to plate out will kind of lose its efficacy. There you can see how this working on this filigree here. You just see how that copper kind of plates right out. Down here you can see where I've dripped a little bit, and the silver is turning to copper. I'm just going to try this for a little bit. Obviously, when you start this process, you have to have a very, very clean shade. So you can use your the Flux and Patina cleaner. I've got a big set tub. I put the lamp in with I get a nice hot bath with Dawn dishwashing soap, and I usually scrub it with baking soda as well. But I'm just gonna, you can see how as I work this, that copper is becoming a little bit brighter As I wipe it, it's even better. You know, the ideal here is if I can get this to look like a big shiny penny when I'm done, that's more or less the goal. So I'm not going to bore you with this whole lot. I'm going to put my camera on time lapse, and we're gonna get this part of the process done. So there you go. That's all for the moment. Click. All right, here we are now about 15 minutes later, I would say. I've got the outside in a state I'm pretty happy with. You can see here, copper's pretty well plated out. It never plates out quite as well onto the filigree if you're doing a fish lamp, a dragonfly lamp, maybe a poppy lamp where we have the filigree. But that's not necessary. In fact, because the green patina will take to brass, we don't even really need to tin the filigree, but I always have. So anyways, don't expect the filigree to tin out or to copper plate out quite as well as the rest of the solder lines. Just stepping back, you know, I live in a relatively small town. I don't have access to a professional copper plating service as you might if you live in a large city. If you do, a professional copper plater can do it much better than this. But this has always worked pretty well for me. You know, you may spend a couple $100 getting a lamp professionally copper plated, but for this, I used less than a half of a bottle of the JAX copper plating to get this lamp done. So this bottle is about 20 bucks at your local stained glass shop. So for probably $8 worth of solution and an hour of my time, you know, I've got a pretty nice copper plate finish on this. At this point, I'm going to let this sit overnight, and whether that's necessary or not, I really don't know. But I've always done it that way. I figured it's good for the copper to, you know, that copper plating just to adhere better. The next step tomorrow morning, we're going to put the brown darkener on and then follow up with the green. So that's all for tonight. All right, so let the copper sit overnight, and now going to do the quickest step, which is it's really not mandatory. If you want to go for more of a bluish finish, I think you can actually skip this step. I'm kind of shooting for a blue-green, or that's my idea. So anyways, we're going to put on a coat of JAX brown darkener. This whole thing is going to take me between less than 10 minutes. So I'm just going to have the beginning of this filmed. We're going to take a break and I'll bring you back to it. But I'm just going to start to work this around the outside of the shade. It takes just a few minutes for the brown to begin to appear. I'm just going to kind of work it around the whole thing here. If you wanted to go with a more of a kind of a brown bronze final finish, you could just work with this and completely forego the green. But I'm going to keep doing this. We're just going to break the film for a minute, and I'll be back with you in just 3 or 4 minutes. All right, so that was literally a 3 to 4 minute break in the video, and now you can kind of see that that shiny copper is gone, And it, you know, I guess it's what I'll kind of call a dirty brown. There's spots that are lighter, spots that are darker, which is, that's what I like to have. So Tiffany patinas have a lot of variation in them, and I want to try to incorporate that into this. So I'm done with that now, and I'm going to take this over and rinse it off. All right, so here I am in my set tub. I'm just going to rinse that off really well. Rinsing and having a clean shade is super important for all these steps. So it was the same thing after I finished the copper plating. I didn't show that last night, but I did go in and rinse it very well and clean it up. You just don't want to have, you got to use one chemical at a time. You don't want to be, don't be mixing your chemicals. So just a few minutes later here again, and the shade has been rinsed and dried, and now it's ready to start applying the green patina. Just going to have a little zoom shot here in on the patina, so you can see that there is variation of the brown, some areas with a little bit more copper showing through. Like I say, I personally like that. But you can also see where you could just continue on with the brown and skip the green, and it's still a pretty cool looking patina, and just go directly to your polish. But we're going to go with the green, so I'm going to add the JAX green now. And this is the most time-consuming part of the whole process. So unlike the brown, unlike the copper, you do not see immediate results when you start to put on the green. Again, as I said at the beginning of the video, there's not a whole lot of information or instructions on the JAX bottles, but one thing it does say is kind of put the first coat on, scrub it in well with a stiff bristle brush. So I put the green patina in a spritz bottle, and I'm just going to start to spritz the entire outside of the shade. And I've got just basically, this is your typical dishwashing tool. Stole it from the sink, and I'm just going to start to kind of work that, try to get that initial coat and work it in a little bit. On the JAX bottle it says kind of do this until a dull film appears. I'm not sure if that dull film is going to appear here while I'm doing the video, but maybe it will. But typically for the green to really start to come through, it's about a 15 to 30 minute wait. And the longer you let it go, the more green you get. And I typically like to get a lot of that green blue, because when we get to the final step, which is waxing it, we're going to lose a lot of that green oxidation that's on the shade is, I guess, what I'll call fragile, and it will come off as you do the polishing. So that's pretty much it for the outside. I'm going to the inside, and I'll be back with you in just a couple minutes. Okay, so I can see a little bit of the green forming on this. It's going to be really hard to tell in the camera at this point. But the longer that the wet JAX green is able to sit on the metal, the more of that green oxidation is going to come out. So this actually came to me last night as a way to keep it wet longer. In talking with some other people, I've been told that kind of keep it in a little bit of a humid area, and that's going to help things out. But I want to keep it wet as long as possible. So, like I say, this literally came to me in the middle of the night. I'm going to call this my patina machine. So I'm going to suspend this whole thing in, oops, I need the lid to the can there. just go ahead and she's going to hand that to me. I went to Home Depot, picked up a large garbage can, and I am going to suspend my lamp in the garbage can. And in the garbage can at the bottom, I have put some warm water, so it's going to create a bit of a, it's going to be like a humid day in the Michigan summer. So I'm just going to put this whole thing together. And now I've got it like this. I'm going to just go ahead and back up there. I'm going to put one additional spritz coat of my green on here. Just get some fresh chemical on the inside as well. And there you can see how I got the water down there. Back you can see some blue-green oxidation kind of dripping into the water. And now I'm going to just suspend this down there. In the past, on some very small lamps, I have been able to do that in a large Ziploc bag, but this can should get me to about a 20-inch lamp for the future. So it suspends in there very nicely without the edges touching the rim at all, and we're just going to let it sit. Probably in an hour or maybe 2 hours, I'm going to come back and spritz one more coat of the JAX green on it, and we're just going to let that thing sit until tomorrow. All right, here we are the next day, and obviously the patina is done on my shade. I'm pretty happy with what we've got here. This is the outside and a shot of the inside. I had the green patina on the shade for approximately 5 hours. And in that 5-hour period, I did open my can there that I had it in and spritzed some fresh green patina on it. I don't really brush it in. I just kind of spritzed it on to have fresh chemical on there. After about 5 hours, I took it out of my little device there and I rinsed it really well. Now when you rinse it, you do not scrub it because the green that's on here is, as I called it earlier, a little bit fragile. So you can rub it off. So literally I just dipped it in the bath to get most of the patina off. But as you can see, you can come in close here. One thing with the green patina is it always leaves a little bit of a residue that just doesn't come off. That will come off as I wax this, but you can see when I rub it that it does come off. First time I did one of these, I got to this point in the process and I was pretty sure that I'd ruined my shade. Fortunately, that didn't happen. So what I'm going to be doing here right now, here's everything that I have. My shoe polish, I've got brown, and I also have this kind of a reddish shoe polish. And this is new for me too. The base that this shade is going to sit on, the patina on that base has some red elements to it. So I'm going to try to incorporate a few red elements in with the brown and then have that green kind of showing through. This is what I apply the shoe polish with. This is actually, I got this at an auto parts store. It is it's actually a car detailing brush. And then I have the old traditional shoe polish brushes as well. After I'm done with the shoe polish part of this, I'm going to finish everything up by putting a coat of clear carnauba wax over the whole shade. So, that being said, I always recommend starting the process on the inside of the shade. do a little bit, see if you like it. And for me, because I'm going to be trying this red that I've never done before, I really want to just try it on a small spot. Another part of this too is the shoe wax tends to dry up faster than a lot of the other polishing compounds that are typically available for this. Do a small area. I would say not any more than 25% of the inside or outside at once. And then just kind of buff it out a little bit. Otherwise, you'll find yourself having to work too hard to buff it. So, that being said, I'm just going to do a small area here on the inside of the shade, and then I'm going to put this thing on time lapse and do the rest, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. That's a faulty glove. So, all right, let me grab one more glove here. So when you apply the shoe polish, don't go too crazy with it. I'm starting with a little bit of the brown here, and you don't want to, I like to just lightly brush it. You can see how it attaches very well to the green. If you go too heavy, you can actually block this all out. So I'm just going to do that small area right there. And rather than wait a whole lot, I'm gonna just kind of start to buff this out right now. And I can actually see that I probably used a little bit more of the brown on that than I really wanted to. But that's okay because it's the inside of the shade. So we're gonna try to now, I don't know if they get in close on that with the camera, but even with that, you can see green elements poking or kind of peeking through the brown. So you can kind of do as much of this or as little as you want. But on my next section here, I'm actually going to do I'm going to go a little bit lighter on the brown. So go ahead and stop it. All right, so here now I'm zooming in on that small area that I just did, and you can see that we've got a nice amount of that green peeking through. There's a few spots here where we got that aqua color, and just kind of back on out. So I'm pretty happy with that. Even though I thought I had maybe a little too much brown shoe polish on at the first or at the beginning of that, it did seem to buff out pretty nicely. So I'm going to continue with the rest of the shade. I am going to experiment with the red as well, and we'll take a break after I do finish the inside of the shade. All right, so here we are about maybe 10 minutes later. Just gonna kind of show you around the inside of this a little bit. You can see again areas that have a little bit more blue, and some areas have a little bit more of the green peeking through. If that's too much for you, you can go back, add a little bit more of the brown shoe polish. I did add some red in here. I don't know how much of an impact it made. I may try a little bit more of that on the outside of the shade. Now, obviously the glass still has to be cleaned up a little bit more, and I think that's really going to happen with the final coat of clear carnauba wax. So now we're going to move on to the outside All right, here we are about 15 minutes later. Pretty happy with what I've got here. You probably couldn't tell on that time-lapse video, but I did, after I was done with the brown, kind of go back and try to add some little red elements. You can get a little bit of a feel for that in like that area there. But there's still polishing to do, and I'm about to go with that clear coat of paste wax, which should soften the patina just a little bit more. So it just kind of gives you a flavor for things, though. And always get a little bit of that extra blue kind of up around the filigree, which I think is kind of cool. There we go. So anyways, on to the clear paste wax. All right, so I've completed the paste wax and pretty happy with my final product. So you can just kind of come in right here and take a look there. And every time I do one of these, it's a little bit different than the last one. I can't say that I don't know that I feel as though I've really perfected this yet, but I'm pretty happy with the results. So, and I should have mentioned this earlier, but the whole thing with the brown shoe polish, I didn't learn that. I didn't brainstorm that one myself. That was a tip that Scott Riggs gave me. Thank you, Scott, for the tips that you've given me in that regard and so many other things in the past. And along those lines, a few other people that I'd like to mention, Joanne Leary, your work is incredible. Scott, you guys do this for a living. I'm just a guy who does this for my own pleasure, and they fill my house and I don't sell them. You know, occasionally I give one away. So, but hopefully 100 years from now, there's going to be a part of me left for people to enjoy. But Scott, Joanne, a couple other people, Dwayne Boom, Greg Rosenberg, Barry Friedman, you guys' work really inspires me. And so I go look at your work before I start a project of my own. Anyways, that's all for this. If you have any questions that I didn't address, feel free to private message me on Facebook, and I promise I will get back to you. I hope that I didn't bore you guys too much. I thought this would be a 10-minute video. It's probably going to be closer to 20. And anyways, I hope that I've added something to the community that's going to be helpful for you guys. So anyways, cheers.